The story begins with an energetic girl carefully doing her nails and applying gloss. As she finishes, she notices a beautiful contrail in the sky and pauses to admire it. Her bicycle, packed with supplies, rests against a tree, ready for a long journey. She looks out over the stunning view from her lakeside campsite and quickly takes a photo. Smiling brightly, she says the scenery looks amazing. The scene then shifts to Hokkaido, where the MC introduces himself as Taro Tanaka, a real estate salesman. He rides his bicycle through the wide, open wilderness to escape his daily stress. He is breathing heavily as he pushes himself forward. Later, he enjoys a quiet lunch in the mountains, feeling completely at peace. Suddenly, a loud voice breaks the silence. Confused, he looks around and realizes he is not alone on this remote road. Nearby, a mysterious girl is watching him. The girl finishes her loud phone call with a cheerful goodbye while sitting casually by the road. Meanwhile, Tanaka stares in utter disbelief at her flashy appearance, as he never expected to encounter such a vibrant personality here. She touches up her nails and sprays perfume while preparing to move on, but Tanaka watches in stunned silence from a distance. He decides it is better not to get involved with her, so he turns to leave immediately. The girl stops him to ask for directions to Sherry, then boldly suggests they travel together after he confirms the route. She introduces herself as Michika with high energy, but Tanaka feels hesitant because he values his alone time. She reveals her own bicycle and insists on joining him, so Tanaka notes her serious long-distance gear with growing surprise. He realizes she is a true traveler because her helmet and bike are covered in sparkling, personalized decorations. Michika proudly shows off her custom bicycle, but he firmly rejects her offer to travel together because he prefers his solitude. He pedals away while correcting her silly mistake, so she shouts after him in loud frustration. Breathing heavily, Tanaka pedals faster, trying to regain his solitude. Soon, he hears his name echoing from behind. Michika chases him relentlessly on her bicycle, shouting for him to wait, which makes him look back in pure horror. Frustrated, he pedals harder, determined to escape her persistent calls. He refuses to let his peaceful mountain time be ruined and pushes himself to the limit, desperate to create distance. Suddenly, he falters as hunger drains his strength. He searches his pockets frantically for any remaining food, but finds nothing. His body gives out completely, and he collapses by the roadside, exhausted and lamenting his ruined day. Michika finally catches up to him and returns the food he dropped. Playfully, she admits she already ate some of it on the way. Delivery fee, one half-eaten snack. He stares in disbelief at her boldness as she stands over him with a cheerful, unapologetic smile. After a while, she greets the day's Tanaka as he wakes up and proudly presents a mysterious rice porridge made from local greenery. Though hesitant, he accepts after she reassures him it's safe. Taking a careful bite, he admits it's surprisingly delicious and reflects on his earlier doubts. She explains that her frantic chase was simply a sincere attempt to apologize for her behavior. Then, she sprays him with a refreshing minty mist, startling him, and explains that it's a necessary bug repellent for the harsh mountain environment. Michika reveals that she traveled all the way from Kagoshima, leaving Tanaka shocked by her determination. Pointing toward the horizon, she shares that her friend lives nearby and that she is committed to finishing her journey. She adds that she had to visit her friend, who was getting married. But Tanaka questions why she chose to travel such a long distance by bicycle. She replies that she suffers from severe motion sickness with other forms of transport, so cycling was her only option. She then fondly reflects on the joy of her journey, talking about the kind people she met and the beautiful scenery she discovered. She describes the excitement of so many first-time experiences. Beaming with happiness, Michika shares her love for cycling. She shows Tanaka her phone, excitedly talking about her friend's reactions to her travel photos, while he watches her with a softened expression. While teasing him with her photos, Tanaka grows unusually quiet and looks up at the sky. After a moment, he scratches his head nervously and asks if she'd like to spend some time together. The sudden change surprises her completely. The social awkwardness is almost tangible. He then leads her toward the entrance of Ojika Falls, while she teases him about his intentions in such a secluded place. Ignoring her remarks, he explains that he always visits this hidden spot whenever he comes to the mountain. Soon, Ojika Falls appears before them like a sparkling, hidden gem. Water cascades down rocky cliffs into a calm, secluded pool. The breathtaking view leaves her speechless, and she quickly takes photos of the scene. She asks if it's really okay to share such a private place, and he admits that he usually enjoys this sanctuary alone. Tanaka lightly teases Michika about her unusual travel philosophies, but she suddenly pulls him in for a quick selfie together. His sense of personal space seems non-existent, As he turns to head back toward town, she stops him with a quiet, lingering look that catches him off guard and leaves him flustered. She thanks him for the lunch and for spending time with her. They share one last playful exchange before she prepares to leave. Looking at the selfie they took, Tanaka calls out to her and asks to hear more about her travels the next time they meet. Michika responds with a bright, enthusiastic smile and agrees. It marks the beginning of a new connection. From the roadside, Tanaka watches as she rides away, continuing her long journey from Kagoshima to Hokkaido. A few months earlier in Kagoshima, Michika is absolutely stunned when her friend Saki announces she is getting married. She can hardly believe it, as they are only high school sophomores in the middle of their youth, making the decision feel incredibly sudden. Michika breaks into happy tears while congratulating Saki over the phone, her initial shock turning into pure joy. Despite Saki's playful warning about her makeup running, she enthusiastically vows to travel and celebrate the marriage in person. Saki points out the massive distance between Kagoshima and Hokkaido, reminding Michika of her severe motion sickness. Even the thought of travel makes her feel ill, yet she stubbornly insists that their friendship is more important than her physical limitations. She then declares she will cycle to Hokkaido to overcome her motion sickness. While she beams with excitement over the phone, Saki remains skeptical, doubting her friend's commitment to such an exhausting cross-country journey. After the phone call, she gathers her essentials, packing a large collection of makeup and supplies for the upcoming trip. She brushes off her mother's request for help with the laundry, claiming she is just heading out for a short while as she laces up her sneakers. Michika spots a boy and borrows his bike for her journey. When he warns her that her skirt is too short for riding, she teases him, while he dryly corrects her and wonders where she is going. As the boy, Atsushi, returns home, he mentions to his mother that sister said something about going to Hokkaido. His mother is shocked by the news, but her worry quickly shifts back to the immediate problem of having no meat for dinner. Meanwhile, Michika begins her bike journey in high spirits, convinced she is a natural who could reach Hokkaido in just 3 days. She imagines a trip filled with shopping and romance as she enthusiastically pedals past open fields. She quickly hits a wall as she struggles to pedal her bike up a brutal incline, drenched in sweat and barely moving forward. Exhausted, she decides to take a short break, only for the bike to suddenly roll backward down the steep hill. She finally manages to push the bike back up the hill, exhausted and panting from the effort. Just as she catches her breath, she swats away annoying bugs, only to watch in disbelief as the bike crashes all the way back down the incline again. She slumps over in defeat, feeling like the journey is impossible as sweat begins to drip onto her phone. She panics and quickly checks her reflection, only to be horrified by the sight of her makeup completely ruined and running down her face. Michika panics as her makeup continues to run, realizing this exhausting ordeal is nothing like the glamorous trip she had envisioned. Only 90 minutes into her journey, she sits dejectedly by the road and considers giving up until the sudden shadow of a passing bird catches her attention. A crow lands nearby and caws at her, seemingly mocking her defeated state. She snaps back at the bird in a fit of frustration, but as she catches her breath, the brief distraction helps her regain focus and resolve. She gazes out at a breathtaking sunset over a mountain lake, the stunning view momentarily washing away her exhaustion. Mesmerized by the beauty, she quickly pulls out her phone to capture the scene, realizing that these unexpected moments make the difficult journey worth the effort. Michika quickly sends the sunset photo to Saki, her spirits lifted despite the earlier struggles. She looks at an old photo of them together and wonders if her friend will be happy to see her, fueled by the memory of Saki's announcement that she is getting married soon. She resolves to keep going a bit further, but before continuing her journey, she decides she must first fix her ruined makeup. Priorities are definitely in order. After a while, she perfectly restores it, feeling refreshed and ready to continue. Determined to take plenty of aesthetic photos along the way to make Saki jealous, she triumphantly returns to her bike, only to realize that fate has other plans. Her initial confidence fades as she stares at her bike, lying on the ground with a broken handle in her hands. Despite her earlier resolve, she finally admits the grueling trip might be impossible. Michika sits beside her fallen bike, imagining a grim headline about her failed journey. Rather than fearing death, she mostly regrets not having better nails for the news. Her spiraling thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a voice calling out. An older man discovers her on the road and wonders what happened. Startled by his appearance, she mistakes him for the Grim Reaper or an escaped convict. He grows annoyed, defending his bad face, while she remains visibly shaken by the encounter. Michika is thrilled to discover the man is actually a bike shop owner, quickly pivoting from fear to calling him a deity. He hands her a business card for Yasujima Cycles, identifying himself as Yasujima Ichizo. Even though he's still annoyed by how rude she was earlier, she happily says she trusts him because his name sounds like the word sincere. Yasujima inspects the bike and finds the spokes are ruined, requiring repairs at the shop. Michika panics, protesting that she has somewhere to be, but he cuts her off and insists she get in the vehicle. Despite her hesitation, he loads the bike and offers her a ride to the shop. But she gets carsick and immediately vomits inside Yasujima's truck. Disgusted, he kicks her out and drives off with her bike, telling her to walk the remaining 30 minutes to his shop. As he speeds away, he fumes over the smell and resolves to make her clean the mess herself. Uber ratings would be 0. 3 hours later, a furious Ichizo waits at his shop, certain Michika has gotten lost. She finally arrives carrying heavy bags, much to his annoyance. When he scolds her for being late, she reveals the delay was because she couldn't find a shop selling cosmetics along the way. She tries to apologize to an irritated Ichizo, explaining that she realized waterproof makeup is a matter of life or death. After her stomach growls, she admits she spent all her money on cosmetics and is now starving. While Ichizo remains annoyed, the kind woman at the shop offers her a meal, much to his frustration. The woman provides Michika with leftovers, explaining that someone had already asked her to prepare extra food. While she happily eats and thanks them, Ichizo delivers more bad news. Rebuilding the broken spokes will take 3 days due to his heavy workload. Michika is devastated by the delay as she needs to reach Hokkaido for a friend's celebration. Patience is a foreign concept. Ichizo reasons that city bikes are ill-suited for long distances due to poor weight distribution, whereas sports bikes are better suited for long rides. She boldly asks to borrow a bike from his shop, but he shuts her down, stating she would need at least 100,000 yen for anything in his inventory. While eating, she is struck by the variety of high-end bikes in the shop. Ichizo grows frustrated with her constant talking while eating. He eventually opens up about his son, who left to do something reckless and now runs his own bike shop elsewhere. He admits that repairing a bike for someone like his son genuinely irritates him. The woman reveals that Ichizo actually wants his son to return, noting that he kept his son's bike because it is special to him. Ichizo denies this, becoming flustered as Michika teases him for being a romantic. He angrily tells her to stay away. He finally offers to let her take his son's bike, but only if she learns to maintain it herself. Unpaid internships start like this. He hands her a manual, insisting that a traveler must know the basics. While she playfully dismisses his lecturing, he reminds her that both bikes and people matter more for what is on the inside than their outward appearance. Walking through the balcony, Ichizo observes Michika through a doorway as she focuses on the bike maintenance he assigned. The next morning, she loudly wakes him up, eager to get started. Still groggy, he complains about her morning energy while she rushes him to hurry up. Morning people are a threat. He is horrified to find that Michika has covered his son's bike in glittery, flowery decorations and named it Banana-chan. He scolds her for only caring about appearances and threatens to take it back if she cannot maintain it properly. While she and the woman find the name cute, Ichizo's frustration boils over as he yells at them to shut up. Ichizo soon realizes that despite the decorations, she successfully replaced the chain and the cable. He honors his promise and lets her take the bike, though he rejects her offer to do his nails. While she goes to take a bath, he silently begins fine-tuning the chain length and cable tension to ensure the bike is safe for her journey. She prepares to leave, sparking one last argument with Ichizo over spending an hour on makeup and matching it to her helmet. As she says her goodbyes, the woman stops her to hand over a mysterious envelope, telling her to read it later. Ichizo gruffly waves her off, telling her to just get going already. Emotional constipation is his brand. Michika gives a tearful, beaming thank you to Ichizo before finally setting off. He offers a rare, soft smile and tells her to quit crying and go. However, her grand departure immediately fails when she realizes her feet do not reach the ground, causing her to fall over and inquire how to actually ride the bike. The next morning, Michika is clearly struggling with the physical exertion of her journey. She groans in pain, likely feeling the strain of the long ride on an unfamiliar bike. After falling over, she realizes that a sports bike is far more difficult to ride than a normal one. Lycra is not a personality. She recalls Ichizo's advice on the proper technique for mounting. Straddle the bar, press the pedal to lift your hips, and then sit. She successfully practices the motion, keeping in mind that her feet will not reach the ground while she is seated. Michika finally gains momentum and is shocked by how much faster the sports bike travels compared to a standard mamachari. She laughs at how light it feels until she realizes she does not know where the brakes are. Panicked by the unfamiliar drop handlebars, she searches for a way to stop just as she loses control and crashes. She is terrified to see what looks like a monster, only to realize it is a local statue. Mortified by her overreaction, she hides her face in embarrassment. As she examines the lizard, someone nearby suddenly shouts that it is not a lizard at all. A young girl indignantly corrects Michika, stating the statue's name is Ishi. When Michika continues guessing other names like Mickey or Nessie, the girl begins to tear up in frustration. Panicked by the impending crying, Michika tries to calm her down while quickly looking up the name on her phone. She pulls up Wikipedia to confirm that the statue represents Ishi, a giant aquatic creature from Lake Ikeda. She excitedly shares the fact to appease the girl, who reveals her name is Kaidi. Seeing Kaidi still visibly upset, Michika introduces herself and asks if she is lost, though Kaidi firmly denies it while still pouting. Stubbornness is a childhood right. Realizing she cannot just leave Kaidi alone, she asks the girl to teach her about Ishi. This instantly brightens Kaidi's mood, and she gives a radiant smile. Kaidi excitedly explains that the creature is about 10 to 20 meters long and has been sighted numerous times since the 1960s. She explains that even the US military could not find anything in the lake. Her confidence then crumbles as she embarrassedly admits she heard all of this from an old lady. Michika validates Kaidi's belief, agreeing that the existence of a creature like Ishi makes the world more romantic and exciting. Surprised that someone believes her, Kaidi notes that while the statue was once popular, nobody back home talks about the legend anymore. She sadly mentions that it would be pitiful if Ishi were forgotten. After thinking for a moment, Michika gets a good idea and starts taking photos of the statue. She excitedly pulls Kaidi into a selfie to help promote the legend. She then posts a decorated photo of the Ishi statue to social media, explaining to a confused Kaidi that she can share images with the whole world on Insta and Twitter. She boasts about being popular in the deco scene and tells Kaidi to wait a moment. Almost immediately, a notification pops up on her phone. Positive replies flood in from all over, with users calling Ishi super cute and scary cute. Some express nostalgia about collecting merchandise in the past, while others feel inspired to visit Lake Ikeda themselves. All of this makes Kaidi watch in awe. Michika shows Kaidi the massive engagement on the post, declaring an easy win since the legend can simply be spread again if it is forgotten. Touched by the support and her kindness, Kaidi offers a sincere thank you. Suddenly, Michika receives a message from her friend Saki, confirming her plans to head to Hokkaido. She tells Kaidi she has to get going to meet her friend and says her goodbyes. As she begins to ride away, Kaidi calls out to her one last time. She points out that Michika One-san is riding the wrong way, as the road to the north is in the opposite direction. Embarrassed by her lack of direction, Michika corrects her course while Kaidi laughs and waves goodbye. They both head home after their chance encounter. Michika notices that Kaidi has already left the area. Realizing she needs to start her own journey, she prepares to head out, but stops to check her phone one last time before leaving. Michika sets off on her bike with renewed energy. A silhouette resembling the real Ishi appears in the water behind the statue in her final photo. After a while, Michika struggles as she continues her bike ride, declaring that it is not fun at all. She complains about her legs hurting, her shoulders aching from her heavy backpack, and a general sense of physical exertion as she pushes forward. She yells that her butt hurts, blaming a defective bike for her slow progress on hills. She curses the old man who gave it to her, but realizes she must push on. As she struggles, she notices another cyclist approaching from behind. Her gaze catches a serious rider with a professional setup and heavy luggage as the stranger passes her on the road. Impressed by the cyclist's gear, Michika gets an idea and calls out to her. She approaches the girl and inquires if she knows anything about bikes. Terrified by the sudden encounter, the cyclist frantically offers her money, begging Michika not to steal her bike. A confused Michika clarifies that she only wanted to know about bikes, leading the girl to realize her misunderstanding and become embarrassed as the tension dissolves. The cyclist, Emiko Yamaji, continues apologizing and even offers money to smooth things over, much to Michika's annoyance. After they formally introduce themselves, Michika asks Emiko if she knows how to perform bike repairs. She explains that her bike barely moves forward, prompting Emiko to wonder if she has been riding it like that the whole time. Emiko suggests pushing the lever near her feet while pedaling. Following the advice, Michika presses the lever and the bike's gears shift with a mechanical click as she begins to pedal again. She is shocked as the bike suddenly feels much lighter, even asking if it is magic. Emiko calmly says that she simply adjusted the gear ratio, going on to describe how it affects speed and effort. Lower gears, she notes, make uphill climbs much easier. Michika is shocked to learn that Emiko is actually a college student, having assumed she was younger. Although she doesn't fully understand the technical details, she is deeply impressed by Emiko's knowledge. She adds that she travels from her university in Tokyo to Kyushu by Shinkansen. Due to her plain style and lack of makeup, the nickname is Jimiko. Michika's attention then shifts to the large amount of gear on Emiko's bike. In response, Emiko mentions that she carries a tent and sleeping bag for overnight camping, which Michika considers hardcore. She also clarifies that their bikes are different. Michika rides a randonneur, while she herself uses a crossbike for touring. That alone is enough to amaze her. Emiko continues by describing a randonneur as a bike built for travel, with a frame and tires suited for heavy luggage and rough roads. She even points out the fenders designed for rainy conditions. To help, she demonstrates how to attach Michika's heavy backpack directly to the bike's carrier. Michika is thrilled by her bike's capabilities, but Emiko is stunned when she hears about her plan to reach Hokkaido in just a few days for a wedding. Quietly, Emiko worries that Michika is far too unprepared and might end up stranded in the mountains. Despite her concerns, she still encourages her to do her best. Feeling newly confident in her gear fire knowledge, Michika sets off enthusiastically, keeping a grateful smile. Almost immediately, she falls off her bike, shouting about her sore butt and desperately wondering if Jimiko knows any way to fix it. Panicked and apologetic, Emiko drops into a deep bow, once again offering money as compensation. Michika quickly shuts that down, insisting this is definitely not the time. Flustered, Emiko instead recommends racing pants, noting that they have special padding to reduce soreness. Puzzled by Emiko's embarrassment, Michika decides to look up the gear herself. The moment she checks her phone, she freezes in shock. She learns that racing pants are meant to be worn without underwear. She makes a bizarre comparison, which makes Emiko even more flustered as she begs her to stop. Embarrassed, she admits she only recently got used to it herself. She suggests a compromise, but Michika flatly refuses. She declares that if she can't wear cute stuff, she would rather endure the pain. Realizing just how different their mindsets are, a flustered Emiko prepares to leave, prompting Michika to question where she's going. Emiko reveals that she plans to stay at a nearby campground. Immediately excited, Michika decides to join her. She imagines a fun night of BBQ and love talk in a tent and is completely on board. Introvert's worst nightmare unlocked. Emiko, however, quickly points out the obvious issue. Michika doesn't even have a tent. Michika brushes it off, insisting that since they're already friends, sharing one is no big deal. Left speechless and flustered by her boldness, Emiko can only hesitate. Meanwhile, Michika cheerfully urges Jimiko to head toward the campground together. The two finally arrive at the campground. While Emiko remains relatively steady, Michika is completely exhausted from the ride. Acknowledging their hard work, Emiko suggests they head to the main building to check in first. The campground staff greets the girls in a heavy Kagoshima dialect, which confuses Emiko. Michika, however, understands him perfectly and explains that she does not have a strong local accent because she is a hardcore YouTuber kid. Michika argues that standard Japanese sounds better than an accent, though Emiko quietly finds Michika's own speech questionable. When the staff asks for a 3,100 yen entry fee, Michika is shocked to learn that campgrounds are not free. Realizing she is broke, Emiko starts plotting in her head, thinking Michika might try to sell her white bike to cover the cost. Capitalism is a mood killer. In the end, Emiko pays the fee, and Michika promises to pay her back later, though Emiko politely refuses. They head into the crowded camping area, where Emiko explains the recent popularity of solo and family camping while searching for a spot to pitch the tent. Michika finds an obstacle course and climbs up, but a young boy comments on her dressing. While Emiko panics and expects Michika to be angry, she simply retorts that it is too early for kids like him to say things like that. He should cite his sources. Emiko is once again left feeling like Michika lives in an entirely different world. Emiko silently worries about the logistics of staying together overnight, but brushes it off when Michika returns from playing with the children. They prepare to set up the tent, and Michika is surprised by how small the packed bag is, comparing it to a pool bag. Emiko demonstrates how to set up her one-touch tent by simply pulling a string on the center attachment, causing the frame to pop into shape. Engineering actually worked for once. After adding the fly sheet, the tent is ready in seconds. Michika is incredibly impressed by how fast and easy the process is. She dives headfirst into the tent but immediately groans in pain, realizing how hard the ground is without a mat. Despite feeling nauseous from the ride, her excitement quickly returns when Emiko mentions starting dinner. Determined to have a barbecue, Michika offers to help with anything, including gathering firewood or building a fire pit. Her survival instincts are non-existent. She is disappointed to learn that dinner will be instant curry instead of BBQ, as Emiko explains that fresh food is too heavy for bike trips. Michika naively claims rice cannot be cooked without a rice cooker, prompting Emiko to explain the process of cooking rice in a pot using a gas canister. Michika is amazed to see that the method actually works as the rice finishes cooking. Microwaves have ruined entire generations. While the rice steams, Emiko prepares to heat the curry and sets up a lantern, explaining that it is best to finish riding before sunset for safety. Michika is starving and eager to eat as Emiko transfers the rice into a mess tin and pours the heated curry over it. Despite Emiko's humble hesitation about the taste, Michika enthusiastically insists on eating and takes her first bite. Hunger is the best seasoning. Michika is blown away by the quality of the instant curry, finishing her meal in seconds. Emiko is relieved that her efforts were appreciated, admitting she was prepared to apologize if the food turned out poorly. After the meal, Emiko assumes it is time for bed, but an energetic Michika argues that it is still too early and suggests finding something else to do. Michika insists on doing Emiko's nails as repayment for the camping fee. When Emiko tries to decline, Michika becomes intensely serious about the Deco project. Emiko eventually gives in, and the two spend the night in the tent while Michika works on her nails. When the manicure is finished, Emiko is surprised by how pretty her nails look. Glamour waits for no mountain. Although she feels they do not quite suit her, Michika is delighted with the result. She then leans in closer, indicating there is one more thing she wants to do. She pins back Emiko's hair with a handmade clip, telling her it would be a waste to hide such a cute face. While Emiko flusteredly protests, Michika explains that this is not just about the camping fee. It is also a thank you for everything Emiko has taught her about bikes and camping. Gazing at the starry sky, Emiko is struck by Michika's sincerity and reflects on how her friend truly seems to live in a different, more vibrant world. Emiko smiles, thinking that Michika is a genuinely good person, and thanks her. However, the sentiment is quickly undercut when Emiko suggests taking a coin shower. Michika excitedly agrees but makes a teasing comment, leaving a stunned Emiko to immediately reconsider whether her friend is trustworthy after all. Michika wakes up in the tent in significant pain, her muscles aching intensely from the bike ride. When a concerned Emiko asks if she is okay and tries to check on her, Michika snaps with a terrifying expression, threatening to kill her if she is touched. Morning charisma is at 0. Emiko reassures her that the intense muscle pain from their long ride will eventually fade away. They finally arrive in the bustling Tenmonkan district of Kagoshima City, navigating through dense crowds of locals and tourists. She admits her history with motion sickness and suggests resting their sore muscles at a manga cafe. Still, Emiko eagerly pushes to hit the shops, since sightseeing is a rare luxury on their budget-friendly bike journey. They both realize that every moment counts during this expensive and exhausting long-distance adventure. Michika suddenly ignites with a terrifying intensity when Emiko declares sightseeing a war of efficiency, leaving her stunned by the abrupt personality shift. They quickly agree to prioritize authentic local experiences over shopping, park their bikes, and head out immediately. Soon after, Emiko herself ignites with the same intensity. Emiko enthusiastically leads the way to local monuments while sharing the romantic history of Sakamoto Ryoma's honeymoon. Michika listens with genuine interest before they head toward the statue of Saigo Takamori, though Emiko privately struggles to understand her companion's sightseeing standards. When they arrive, Michika collapses in utter despair upon discovering the statue is missing its iconic dog, while Emiko tries to explain the historical and artistic connection to Hachiko in Tokyo. She remains inconsolable despite the explanation, dramatically comparing the dogless monument to bubble tea without pearls. Michika continues mourning the missing statue dog while they rest at a local eatery, prompting Emiko to offer a gentle apology for the disappointing stop. Realizing how different their sightseeing tastes are, they fall into a tense silence as they consider where to go next. Emiko eventually suggests splitting up, having lost confidence in her ability to meet Michika's expectations, but she is met with fierce rejection. Michika declares her loyalty and refuses to go alone after committing to their shared journey. Samiko then reflects on the weight of the situation, realizing this is Michika's very first trip and that the stakes are much higher than she had assumed. A waitress interrupts her thoughts with their order. Michika marvels at the arrival of Kagoshima's famous Shirokuma shaved ice, noting how the fruit toppings resemble a face when viewed from above. She eagerly digs in while Emiko watches, finally sharing a moment of simple joy. Both are blown away by the incredible flavor of the fluffy, condensed milk-filled dessert. At last, they discover something they genuinely enjoy together, proof that sugar fixes almost everything. Moved by the shared experience, Emiko asks Michika to visit one more place. She leads a grueling climb up a hill toward Shiroyama Park, a destination she has always dreamed of visiting. Behind her, Michika huffs in exhaustion, complaining about the strain on her sore muscles. Emiko admits her own uncertainty, but shares a cyclist's proverb, "Something good always follows a difficult climb." Michika jokingly threatens to use Emiko's face as a canvas if the destination disappoints. Just as they finally reach the top, Emiko announces their arrival, and both are struck with awe by the breathtaking view of Sakurajima looming over the city. Michika excitedly realizes that this massive volcano is the source of the ash she experienced back home, and she immediately begins capturing the stunning sight on her phone. Beaming, she admits that something good truly did come from the difficult climb. Hearing this, Emiko's relief turns into a bright, genuine smile as she agrees. Later, Emiko secures a reservation at a private manga cafe while they wait for their laundry at a coin laundromat. Michika then realizes she has not contacted her parents since leaving home. She brushes off Emiko's concern with a carefree attitude, just as her mother calls. To her surprise, it is her father on the other end. The final boss has appeared. He demands to know her location, and when he learns they are near Tenmonken, he sternly announces that he will arrive the following day, leaving her frozen in place. Michika attempts to hide as she spots her father and others nearby, desperately trying to avoid being forced back home. Emiko suggests she talk things out properly with her parents, but Michika dismisses the idea as a hassle and chooses to stay out of sight instead. Stealth is not her specialty. Emiko watches in stunned silence as the situation grows more tense. Michika is caught off guard when her mother suddenly appears, revealing she tracked Michika's location through the smartphone she bought her. From the sidelines, Emiko observes the identical chaotic energy shared between mother and daughter. As the realization of being found sets in, Michika grows pale, sensing that her father's arrival is imminent. Her father confronts her, revealing he discovered her plan to travel to Hokkaido after her bicycle was returned. She stands frozen and shaken, realizing her secret journey has been exposed due to Ichizo and her father's sudden arrival. He scolds her for her lack of common sense, but she dismissively brushes him off, claiming a trip to Hokkaido is no big deal. Geography is just a suggestion. Her nonchalant attitude leaves him exasperated, clutching his head in frustration. Emiko watches the tense family dynamic unfold with growing confusion and concern. She reveals that a bicycle trip to Hokkaido takes over a month, stunning Michika. Michika calls Emiko a traitor for saying it was doable, while Emiko admits she was too scared to disagree earlier. Their lack of foresight leaves the father even more exasperated. Michika rebels against her father's logic, insisting she will live life her own way. When he warns that police would stop a minor walking alone at night, she foolishly suggests using adult makeup as a disguise. Her lack of common sense further frustrates him, and in the middle of their debate, something catches Emiko's attention. Michika stubbornly refuses to return home, determined to finish her trek to Hokkaido on her own terms. While the intense parent-child standoff frightens Emiko, she reflects on how significant this first-ever trip is for Michika, recognizing the deeper emotional stakes involved. Gathering courage, Emiko steps forward to address Michika's father. Though she is visibly terrified, she fumbles with her student ID, accidentally holding it upside down while introducing herself. Despite her nerves, she explains their shared journey from Tokyo, but becomes flustered under the pressure of the situation. She bows deeply before Michika's father, formally requesting permission to accompany her on the journey to Hokkaido. He skeptically asks whether Michika prompted this plea, but Emiko firmly denies it. She explains that Michika's travel restrictions were due to her condition, making this journey a vital first experience. Despite difficult moments, Emiko emphasizes the joy of meeting people and overcoming hardships. She explains that this sense of accomplishment is exactly why she continues traveling by bicycle. Emiko passionately expresses her wish to see Michika smile as she experiences new things. As a fellow traveler, she feels a strong responsibility to support Michika's journey, leaving Michika's father in deep silence. Emiko makes a final, desperate plea for Michika to continue her journey. Overwhelmed by the intensity of the confrontation, she nearly collapses, supported by Michika. Their father then asks Michika directly whether she is truly serious about going to Hokkaido, which is met with heavy silence. The plot thickens significantly. Michika stares her father down and declares she is dead serious about her journey. Acknowledging her resolve, he finally relents. As the tension breaks, Michika's mother arrives to intervene. She hands over a sleeping mat and bag, revealing that her father never actually intended to force her home. Stunned by the sudden shift, the girls watch as he simply walks away, having secretly prepared for her to continue. Her mother reveals that an accident during infancy caused Michika's motion sickness, leaving her father burdened with years of regret. Despite dreaming of family camping trips, he felt unable to take her traveling. Over the years, he secretly bought sleeping bags for her as she grew up. Hoarding equipment is love. Michika's mother explains that her father was likely happier than anyone to hear she was traveling, despite his outward anger, yet he remains deeply worried about her safety. Michika calls out to her retreating father, promising to see many places and have an amazing time. She vows to return home, totally fine, showing her determination. Hearing this, her father lets out a small, quiet chuckle. As the parents depart, he silently reflects that her determination is only natural. Relieved that the confrontation ends peacefully, Emiko exhales in exhaustion. Michika beams with gratitude, thanking Emiko for stepping in and truly saving her. Emiko is moved to tears by the father's hidden kindness, while Michika's mother returns to hand over a signed guardian consent form. The document, signed by her father, provides the necessary permission for her to work or travel, formally solidifying his support for her journey. Michika's mother suggests they find part-time work if they run low on funds. As she waves goodbye and reminds them to buy meat on the way home, Michika is left stunned by her parents' casual attitude. Now equipped with new gear, the duo sets off once again toward Hokkaido. Michika teases Emiko for her earlier dramatic displays of fear, leading to a playful chase as they resume their ride. However, the light-hearted moment is short-lived. As they cross the border into Miyazaki Prefecture, they remain completely unaware of the terror that lies immediately ahead, a grueling stretch of 1,000-meter class mountains that will test their endurance more than ever before. Michika travels through Kagoshima, taking Route 247 to Lake Ikeda to visit the Ishii statue, then heading through Forest Kawanabe. She continues through Tenmonkan toward Kirishima, passing famous spots like Sakurajima and Shiroyama Park. During their journey, Emiko takes Michika to Maruo Falls, mentioning that it is a rare site where actual hot spring water flows down the waterfall. She reasons that the water is so warm that steam visibly rises from the falls during winter. While Emiko describes the beauty of the waterfall, Michika hops over the safety fence for a closer look, loudly complaining about the awful smell of hot spring water. Back on their journey, Emiko sighs, once again caught off guard by Michika's impulsive and dramatic behavior. When she suddenly spots smoke, she panics and shouts that they should call 110. Emiko quickly reasons that the smoke is actually volcanic gas from a fumarole in the Kirishima mountain range. Michika finally understands that the cluster of active volcanoes is the source of both the hot springs and the strong sulfur smell. Emiko warns that crossing the Kirishima mountains into Miyazaki Prefecture will be difficult due to the 1,000-meter elevation. Despite being a beginner, she dismisses the concern and confidently claims the climb will be easy. Confidence is a renewable resource. After some time, however, she begins struggling with the steep ascent, realizing it is far harder than she expected. Emiko advises her to focus on pacing and breathing, suggesting a speed that still allows her to talk comfortably. Following the advice, Michika agrees to slow down and conserve energy for the long distance ahead. As they take a short break, a young boy on a road bike effortlessly passes them. Michika and Emiko watch in surprise as he climbs the steep path without visible effort. Emiko wonders whether he might be a local elementary school student, while Michika looks visibly irritated by the boy's challenging gaze. Fueled by competitive pride, Michika lets out a roar and speeds up in an attempt to overtake him. Sprinting is an emotional decision. As she pulls ahead, she returns the same intense stare, surprising the boy. Unbothered by Michika's smug expression, the boy responds with a smirk of his own before accelerating even faster. This sparks another competitive roar from Michika as the two push themselves further up the hill. Watching from behind, Emiko remarks that Michika truly has strong legs for climbing, recalling how she used heavy gears when they first met. After some distance, Michika blames her loss on a plastic bottle that fell because it did not properly fit her bottle cage. Emiko suggests buying a compatible bottle next time, while Michika begins to notice how hot it has become now that it is noon, and the shade has disappeared. The sun has no mercy. Emiko praises her for making it this far, but Michika remains frustrated about losing to the boy. Soon, they spot him resting ahead and drinking water, and he briefly meets their gaze again. Believing the boy has laughed at her once more, Michika rushes toward him along the trail leading to the lake. Emiko calls out in surprise as she continues the chase on foot, determined not to let him escape. She finally catches up and grabs his arm, but the boy remains calm and silent. Instead of reacting, he simply points upward, directing her attention toward something ahead. He leads Michika to a breathtaking view of the lake. Scenic views solve all arguments. Realizing he had likely been waiting there just to show her this spot, Michika is deeply moved by the gesture. Though the boy says nothing, she quietly expresses sincere appreciation, acknowledging his kindness. Emiko watches in confusion, surprised by the sudden connection between Michika and the boy. The lake is a high-altitude crater lake with a local legend about a girl named Onami, born to a childless couple, who eventually returned to the lake as the reincarnation of a dragon. As the boy heads back the way he came, Emiko confirms that he really was a local child. She reflects that having someone to climb alongside can motivate a person to perform at their best, and together they finally manage to complete the ascent. Michika cheers as they reach the sign marking Miyazaki Prefecture. However, her excitement quickly fades when she feels underwhelmed, noting that the border looks surprisingly plain and far less photogenic than she had imagined. Later, while resting, Emiko explains the legend of Sai no Kawara. Michika, misunderstanding, calls it Rhino River. Emiko describes it as a riverbank in the afterlife, where children must endlessly stack stone towers as punishment, only for demons to destroy them before completion. She adds that Jizo Bosatsu eventually saves the children. Michika nervously dismisses the legend as made up. She definitely sleeps with the lights on. Emiko then reveals that the site actually exists at Fudo Pond up ahead. Michika is completely terrified and speechless. She tries to hide her fear as Emiko cheerfully confirms they are headed to Sai no Kawara. Emiko explains that Ebino Plateau, part of Japan's first national park, offers a spectacular landscape of scattered rocks that any cyclist would want to experience. When Emiko asks if she is afraid of ghosts, Michika tries to act brave. She insists she is totally fine, though she mumbles about the afterlife. Overcompensating, she loudly declares they should head towards Sai no Kawara. Her soul has already left her body. As they set off, a passerby stops them. It's an elderly woman who asks Emiko if they are indeed heading toward Fudo Pond. She warns that the path is blocked due to an eruption alert. Emiko is surprised, while Michika immediately embraces the woman, praising her for the information and celebrating the excuse to avoid the haunted location. Michika continues feigning disappointment over Rhino River while taking the woman's advice to use Route 30. The woman's expression suddenly turns ominous. She lets out a chilling laugh and warns that something might appear on Kirishima, a mountain steeped in mysterious legends. Terrified, Michika stays on edge. Even a simple sign warning of animals is enough to make her panic. Rabbits have now become high-level threats. Emiko watches, concerned by her friend's extreme reaction. After the warning, every small detail begins to unsettle Michika. She stares intensely at a roadside mirror, paralyzed by the feeling that something might appear. She frantically shakes her head to dismiss her fears, convincing herself that ghosts do not exist. When she spots a rock in the road, she swerves her bike just in time to avoid it, leaving Emiko startled and wide-eyed. Michika nearly hits the rock and almost loses control of her bike. She calls out in concern, but assures Emiko she is fine, blaming the hidden rock. Emiko apologizes, realizing she should have taught Michika hand signals. Safety, she explains, is also a luxury. When cyclists ride in a line, the lead person must communicate hazards using both voice and hands. Emiko demonstrates by pointing at the ground and shouting to watch out for crocodiles, leaving Michika completely bewildered. She then illustrates standard cycling hand signals, pointing left or right for turns, pointing at the ground to warn of obstacles, moving a hand up and down to signal slowing, waving a hand back and forth to let others pass, and placing a hand on the back to indicate stopping. She adds that shouting is safer than hand signals during downhill descents. Michika remains anxious, asking if there is a signal for ghosts, only to be met with confused silence. After a while, Michika excitedly jumps into an outdoor hot spring. She enjoys the relaxing water and encourages hesitant Emiko to join. Emiko worries about being seen from the outside, but Michika playfully insists that towels are not allowed and pulls her in. Modesty is currently out of stock. They both relax in the open-air bath with a mountain view. Michika expresses relief at avoiding the original road, while Emiko reflects that the detour was worth it for such a pleasant experience. Michika remains unsettled, thinking about the elderly woman's cryptic warning that something might appear. Her fear peaks when she spots two glowing lights in the darkness. She screams in terror, pleading for whatever it is to stay away. The lights reveal themselves to be a cat. Relief quickly turns to embarrassment. Michika shouts at the animal not to look while making an absurd threat to grab its chest. Emiko points out that her outburst makes no sense. The next day, she rides downhill with a sense of accomplishment and relief. She remarks on how refreshing the descent feels, enjoying a renewed sense of energy as she continues the journey with Michika. Our gal looks pale and admits to Emiko that she is feeling motion sick from the downhill coasting. She explains that moving forward without pedaling feels too much like being in a car, which triggers her nausea. Emiko watches her with concern, questioning if she is really going to be okay. Emiko shares that the true joy of cycling includes the challenge of climbing and connecting with nature. Still nauseous, Michika admits she is barely able to keep moving. Emiko sympathetically notes that struggling like this is normal for a beginner. She panics at the thought of Michika hating bicycles and ending their friendship over a boring experience. Desperate to prevent a falling out, Emiko shakes her head firmly. She decides she must find a way to make Michika enjoy cycling. As Michika complains about the exhaustion of another upcoming climb, Emiko mysteriously suggests using a little trick to help her through it. The trick turns out to be physically pushing Michika up the hill. Manual labor is the best friendship lubricant. Michika is amazed at how much lighter the climb feels, though Emiko ends up doing double the work. Exhausted but determined, Emiko tells herself that the extra effort is worth it if it helps Michika enjoy the ride. Suddenly, rain starts to fall as they continue their ride. Michika suggests quickly seeking shelter under some trees. Concerned about their luggage getting soaked, Emiko hands Michika trash bags to wrap their gear while the rain is still light. Michika is impressed by Emiko's preparedness. Emiko notes how useful the bags can be in various situations. Emiko insists that Michika wear her rainwear, even though it means she will get wet. Michika protests, but Emiko firmly tells her it's fine. She doesn't want Michika to end up hating cycling because of bad weather. Self-sacrifice is her only hobby. Michika refuses to let Emiko get wet, pointing out that she is too skinny and likely to catch a cold. Emiko remains determined to protect Michika from the rain. Her attention is suddenly caught by the trash bags again. She finds a guide on her phone for making emergency raincoats from plastic bags. Michika thinks it's a great idea and reveals she has scissors to help with the DIY project. The guide shows a two-part design, a vest-like body and a separate hooded cape. Michika proudly debuts her custom plastic bag raincoat, styling it with a jagged trim to keep it cute. High fashion meets the dumpster. Although it sticks to her skin, she is happy to feel invincible against the rain. With the raincoats finished, Emiko and Michika resume their ride carefully. Despite their progress, Emiko feels discouraged, worrying that the rain has ruined Michika's chance to enjoy cycling. Her thoughts are interrupted when Michika excitedly calls out for her to look at something. The sun breaks through the clouds, illuminating a massive loop bridge that stretches across the forest like a giant snake. Emiko is mesmerized by the sight, having never seen anything like it. Structural engineering is a jump scare. Michika snaps a photo of the stunning view and smiles, remarking that bikes really are insane, signaling she is finally enjoying the ride. Michika is thrilled by the sense of adventure, comparing the journey to an RPG. She explains that traveling to unknown places under her own power gets her pumped, and Emiko listens silently. Michika happily concludes that everyone has different reasons for enjoying cycling, whether it's for nature, climbing, or adventure, and warmly agrees with Emiko. She watches happily as Michika cheers for the loop bridge, hoping she continues to find joy in cycling. However, the victory is short-lived. Michika immediately gets motion sick from the ride. Later, she gets separated from Emiko and receives a message telling her to wait where she is. Despite the instructions, her poor sense of direction makes her move anyway. She believes taking a different path will help them reunite faster. GPS is just an opinion. Suddenly, someone calls out to her. She is startled to find a young man lying flat on his back among river gear, including a paddle and fuel cans. Cheerfully, he asks her for help. His name is Toya, a second-year high schooler. He thanks Michika for saving him, admitting he was genuinely freaked out by the situation. Discovering they are the same age, she introduces herself and asks why he was in such a strange position. Toya explains he was practicing with a kayak, a boat used for navigating rivers. Michika reacts strongly, explaining that she gets incredibly motion sick and finds boats impossible to handle. The ocean is her nemesis. She mentions she is traveling by bicycle from Ibusuki, headed all the way to Hokkaido. Toya is impressed by her flashy custom bike and ambitious goal, calling it a dream. They quickly bond over their shared enthusiasm and declare themselves friends. He asks her for a favor as a new friend, to get on the back of the kayak and practice with him. Michika immediately refuses, repeating that she gets motion sick. Toya tells her not to be a buzzkill, but eventually relents. He requests her to at least watch him practice. From the shore, Michika observes Toya struggling with the kayak. He ends up capsizing in the water. She asks if he is just playing around, but he insists he is serious. Failure is his main hobby. The Kuma River's current is revealed to be incredibly intense, as it is one of Japan's 3 fastest rivers. He explains that the river's intensity makes rafting and touring extremely fun. When she expresses surprise that Miyazaki has such a river, Toya corrects her. They are actually in Kumamoto. He reveals that his parent is a kayak instructor and he is the successor. To improve, he has been secretly practicing away from his father. Michika points out a critical flaw. He closes his eyes whenever the water splashes, causing him to flip. Toya is shocked to realize he has been doing this every time. Blinking is a technical error. Relieved that the problem is just a habit, not a technical flaw, he thanks her and vows to keep his eyes open on his next attempt. He heads back onto the water with renewed confidence. Despite his determination, he ends up flat on his back again, exhausted and confused by repeated failure. Michika teases him for being a scaredy cat and closing his eyes, suggesting he stop for the day if he's afraid. Toya stubbornly refuses to give up. He talks about his love for Hitoyoshi, sharing childhood memories of jumping off castle walls and building makeshift boats. Though Michika finds his stories sketchy, he explains that his family's shop aims to share the area's beauty with customers through kayaking. He believes a job introducing what he loves sounds incredibly fun. Employment is a wild concept. Encouraged, he returns to the water for more practice, determined to succeed this time. Michika joins Toya on the kayak to help. Despite her motion sickness, she explains she can't ignore a friend's struggle. As they drift away from the shore, she sternly warns him that she won't forgive him if they sink, and her makeup comes off. She encourages him to keep his eyes wide open and focus on the hometown he loves, as if guiding a real customer. Following her advice, Toya successfully navigates the water without flipping. Michika, slumped over from the ordeal, congratulates him on graduating from being a scaredy cat. He thanks her with a bright smile. Suddenly, Jimiko arrives to find Michika, who realizes she has to leave. Toya asks if they can ride together again, but she firmly declares she is done with boats. Instead, she offers him to show her other fun spots that aren't on the water next time. He happily agrees, promising there are many such places. Toya wishes Michika luck on her journey to Hokkaido. She tells him to look forward to a souvenir. As she rides away with Jimiko, her companion notices she looks worn out. Encouraged by her help, Toya turns back to the water, determined to continue practicing.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away. Had to find the person